Hello and welcome to the Motoring News Zone, the show where we bring you the biggest stories in the world of cars right now. This week we take a look at why Nissan are urging the UK government to reconsider their net zero targets, why British drivers are so bad in winter weather as we get the first snowstorms of the year in the UK, and of course we react to Jaguar's disastrous new rebranding and ad campaign. All that and a whole lot more in today's show. Let's dive in. Right, interesting article here on the motoringchronicle.com concerning Nissan, the Japanese car maker who have a lot of big plants here in the UK. They make a lot of cars here in the United Kingdom, and they have called for urgent action on the UK's zero emission vehicle ZEV mandates. Let's have a look at this, guys, because we all know that the UK is trying to go carbon neutral or whatever in the future, but it does seem a bit of a pie in the sky goal, if I'm being totally honest. But let's have a look at what's been said here by the government and also by the Japanese car manufacturer Nissan. Full article on the motoringchronicle.com as always. Nissan has today called for urgent action to avoid car makers being penalised for slowdown in electric vehicle sales in the UK, resulting from outdated targets in the UK's zero emissions vehicle mandate. The mandate was established to incentivise manufacturers to move on from petrol and diesel vehicles to electric vehicles, under the assumption that the sharp rise in consumer demand for EVs seen in recent years was continuing. Despite discounting by manufacturers to drive sales this year, the SMMT predicts that the slowdown in consumer demand means that EV sales will only reach 18.5% of the total market against the 2024 ZEV mandate target for 22%, which will rise to 28% in 2025. So basically, for 24 this year, they are predicting it's going to be 18.5% of the market of sales of new cars, but they were actually predicting that it was going to be 22% according to this ZEV mandate. So that is a whole 3.5% down, and they also originally predicted it's going to go up by another 6% since then in 25, which is more than optimistic looking at that. Missing the target will result in significant fines for manufacturers unless credits are purchased from EV-only brands, none of which manufacture in the UK, meaning that UK automotive industry will effectively be subsidising EV sectors in other countries at the expense of investment in Britain. So basically, what that means is that there are no electric-only brands that are manufacturing cars in the UK. So for example, Tesla, I believe all those vehicles are electric. They only manufacture vehicles probably in the US. They don't have a plant here in the UK, and there are no others as well. So yeah, effectively we are giving foreign aid basically over this, which is just great. Nissan remains committed to a fully electric future, with partners investing billions in new models and technologies for its UK operations. In light of the slowdown in consumer demand, the UK government needs to urgently address the ZEV mandate to protect such investments, including increased flexibility on borrowing credits for future years in the short term, a 2-year monitoring period for 24 and 25 in place of potentially devastating fines for the industry. This would allow companies to plan accordingly and ensure the UK can deliver on the 80% target by 2030. 80% by 2030. That's not happening. I can't see that, even amidst the existing market headwinds. Yeah, so I'm not going to go through that quote. That'll probably take too long. But yeah, there's some interesting stuff in here for sure. So as the government industrial strategy recognises UK automotive manufacturing is an essential growth driving sector, it employs hundreds of thousands of people across the country and represents 12% of the UK exports. Nissan is proud to call the UK home, employing over 7,000 people who design, engineer and build vehicles in Britain for customers across Europe and the world, contributing more than $2 billion a year to the UK economy through wages, UK built parts and services. Not only the UK's biggest car maker through its Sunderland plant MNUK, Nissan also designs and engineers vehicles through its International Design NDE and Research and Development NTCE teams in Paddington and Cranfield respectively. 3 new EVs have also been announced for the UK production as part of the Nissan EV 360 blueprint. They really love the acronyms, these guys, for the manufacturing. EV and battery production powered by renewable energy, associated investments in battery recycling, skills development and vehicle-to-grid technology are also still in progress and help to realise a sustainable, fully electric future. Nissan recognises that further discussion is required on improving the customers' incentives and in charging infrastructure to support transition to EVs in the longer term. However, the immediate changes proposed by Nissan to the ZEV mandate would not cost anything to the UK taxpayer and would remove the risk of investments in future vehicles and technologies being diverted into fines and credits for overseas manufacturers. Cartier added, "We are committed to working with the government and industry partners on a long-term solution, but action is urgently needed to ensure that we protect UK car manufacturing and ensure that we can all realise the support and transition to zero emissions and carbon neutrality." Right, okay. So, yeah, I mean, what they're saying is fair. I mean, basically, what's going to happen if nothing changes? What's most likely going to happen is that these manufacturers are not going to be able to sell enough electric vehicles because the demand is not high enough for electric vehicles to meet the required parameters of this mandate, the ZEV mandate. If they don't meet it, then they will get massive fines. To meet it, they would have to effectively buy parts and cars from abroad using other electric vehicle manufacturers, something that is just going to take money away from the UK and put it into the pockets of other countries, which you don't want to do unless you have to do it. So basically what they want to do is revise the figures, make the figures more attainable, because yeah, it's 3.5% in this year that they're off, but what about next year when it's meant to increase by 6%? Will it increase by 6% and still be 3.5% off? Maybe it'll be closer, we don't know, but I imagine they're probably estimating now that it's going to be significantly less than what they originally forecasted when they did the mandate, because that's an estimate at the end of the day. You know, there's such a thing as supply and demand, and these car manufacturers like Nissan, they can supply all they want. They could build millions upon millions of EVs, but what is the point if nobody wants to buy them, or not enough people want to buy them to meet that supply? Supply and demand is an important thing at the end of the day. It's basically what capitalism is, in this sense. But if there's not enough people wanting to buy them, what's the point? You can't. And then you get into the territory where people potentially aren't going to get the cars they actually want because the only option is an EV, and they don't want an EV. And then you get unhappy customers. So it's got a real knock-on effect, and it would make sense for them to change it. Whether the government will or not, don't know. We'll have to see. The sensible option would be to sit down, listen to the concerns, and then if those concerns are legitimate, which they sound like they are, then make some kind of change to it. But what do you guys think? Do you think the UK is being too ambitious with its EV target, with its net zero target, with this mandate? I think it's being a little bit too ambitious. Like I said at the start, it's a bit pie in the sky, really. But let us know your thoughts in the comments below. So it's been a very cold week here in the UK. We've had a lot of snow, a lot of ice. I had to defrost my car this morning as well. There was some kind of weird ice storm last night. That wasn't normal frost on there. That was like super frost. That was thick boy ice that was on my car this morning, just trying to get the thing going. And drivers, unsurprisingly, are pretty nervous about this in the UK. Now, I am sure that a lot of countries will be laughing at this because the amount of snow that we get is minuscule compared to countries like Canada, Norway, Finland, Russia, even parts of America, our snow is relatively pitiful compared to that, I'll be honest with you. But there's a lot of reasons why the UK is pretty nervous about driving in the winter weather, and I'm going to go into why that is. But let's go through this article first of all as well on motoringchronicle.com, and I'll just give my kind of thoughts on it as well, because I feel like in the UK you can blame the drivers all you want, but I feel like there's other things to blame here. So let's have a look at what's been said here. Full article on the motoringchronicle.com. As the UK heads towards winter, a shock survey reveals the high level of dread among UK motorists at the thought of driving in challenging seasonal conditions. The newly released research by Isuzu UK, who polled the nation's motorists, discovered that almost 3/4, 73%, feel worried or anxious about driving in wintry, icy or cold conditions. It also found that more than 2/3, 68%, have refused to drive either many times or on the odd occasion when it's cold, wet or snowing. Additionally, the study uncovered which age group was most likely to refuse to drive in bad weather, and perhaps surprisingly, it was the younger generation of motorists. I don't think that's too surprising, to be honest. More than 8 in 10, 83%, aged between 18 and 29, have refused to get behind the wheel in these conditions, compared to just 62% of these aged 60 plus. We'll come back to that. I think that's an interesting stat there, and I'll explain why I think that is. George Wallace, who is the head of marketing at Isuzu UK, said that these results highlight the high level of concern that many drivers feel when temperatures drop and snow falls. Having a capable vehicle that can cope on all terrains in all weather conditions with features including four-wheel drive could make all the difference in boosting confidence levels. The top 5 reasons that make driving during the winter challenging, according to Brits, are the following. The top is the risk of ice at 60%, freezing rain/snow reducing visibility at 48%, low sun shining in the face 48%. Yeah, that's a problem. When the sun shines this time of year, you need to have a good pair of sunglasses, and even then, you're going to have to get the visor down just to see because it's ridiculous. 40% on number 4 is getting stuck in the snow, and fog is 39%. Additionally, the study also found the cities where the motorists are most or least likely to get stressed as the weather takes a turn for the worse, making driving conditions more challenging for some. Drivers in Bristol appeared the most chilled, winter drivers. That's the article, guys. That's not my pun. You can see it on the screen. But even there, over half of drivers, 61%, admit to feeling anxiety. I mean, that's because it probably barely ever snows in Bristol. It's down south. This is compared to the top 5 locations for the most nervous motorists in winter conditions, including Plymouth. Plymouth, that's like in the tropics, mate. That's way down south. Liverpool, 82. It barely ever snows in Liverpool because it's right by the coast. London, 79. Why London? London's like, again, it doesn't snow that much in London. Stoke-on-Trent, 77. And Newcastle upon Tyne, Norwich and Oxford are all tied in 5th. Newcastle, yeah, fair enough. Norwich, does it snow much in Norwich? Probably does actually. It's a bit inland, isn't it? George Wallace added, "It's interesting to see that drivers in Plymouth appear to be the most nervous motorists, given the more temperate... See, I said it, tropical climate, the more temperate South Coast climate, which perhaps indicates when snow falls that it is more of an unknown factor. It's also fascinating to see that older drivers appear to have more confidence when faced with harsher driving conditions, most likely because they have more experience." That is part of the reason, and specific experience, I think, as well. I might as well go back to that now. So I feel like part of that is because basically winter... I mean, how true this is, I don't know, but going off of what I've done with my research, I would say it's probably true. You always hear from the old generations, your parents, your grandparents, about, oh, we used to have proper winters back in my day. Snow was 6 feet high and we used to walk 5 miles to school every day bare feet. It's I mean, that's a slight exaggeration, but they do say stuff like that. And winters back then were worse. The UK used to get way more snow. It used to be way more colder. Go look up the winter of 1963. Go look up the winter of 1948, I think it was. My granddad always, God bless him, always used to tell me about 1948 winter as well, where the country just went to a standstill because the nation was just frozen basically for 3 months. So obviously these people have grown up with that. They've been driving in that. Snow was a lot more common. Ice was a lot more common. So they've got more experience, yes, but they have a lot more life experience of bad winters as well. Here, honestly, growing up for me, for the most part, we didn't used to get that much snow living down in Sheffield. But now I've moved to West Yorkshire and live on the edge of the Pennines, I get snow a lot. And I think I'm pretty decent at driving in the winter weather because of that. But if I was still down in Sheff, and I didn't really have that much experience of driving in wintry conditions, I probably wouldn't be so confident, to be honest. But yeah, let's just go back to the article. I digress quite a bit there, but I feel like that needed to be said. Of course, winter presents its own driving hazards, so safety behind the wheel should always be paramount. It's in situations like this where having a reliable vehicle to tackle the elements, it's critical. We see that this with, of course, they have to name drop their own car, the Isuzu D-Max, with its world-class safety features, including a maximum 5-star NCAP rating. It is the pickup of choice for more and more drivers in the UK when snow and ice and wet weather comes knocking. I imagine pickup trucks are a very good vehicle to have in conditions like this. So, yeah, just a few more points as well. Again, it's the experience thing for me that's a big factor, really, when it comes to the confidence of drivers. It makes sense that the more older generations are better at it, basically. I can totally get that because they've got more experience of it. They used to be more prevalent when they were younger, like I said. On top of that, you've also got the fact that in general, according to stats and according to, I've done some videos on this already, but in general, the boomer generation, the 50 to 65-year-olds roughly, they are the best drivers statistically according to accident rates. They have the lowest accident rates of any generation in the UK. and that's kind of mirrored in most of the West, I believe, as well. So again, you know, these people are less likely to have their fingers burned or fingers frozen, I guess, in this case, and basically because they've not been in as many accidents as what we are, or at least not many close calls and stuff. So I think that's a factor too. But also something we have to address. We have to address the big cold icy elephant in the room, right? We got to talk about it. The UK is woefully underprepared for any kind of wintry conditions, and there's reasons for this. The biggest reason really is because, you know, we can't afford, for the most part, local councils can't afford to get gritters out there. My neighborhood, for example, where I live, this just shows you how, I mean, you could say it's inept, but I'd say it's just underfunded. We actually require, because I live on the edge of the Pennines mountain range, very cold, lots of wintry weather, and our neighborhood basically it's impassable when it gets really bad winter weather wise. It's just too dangerous. I don't go out personally when it's that bad here because it's just dangerous, simple as that. And I don't have a 4-wheel drive vehicle, so I don't want to get stuck. And again, I'm falling into the millennial category on this, where it's just like, well, you don't want to go out. Well, in my case, I think it's fair enough with that because we get proper winters up here. But we actually applied a while ago to get a grit bin for the neighbourhood, and the council said no, we can't do that. We don't have the funding for it. Basically, we've already got enough grit bins. Someone would have to give one up for you to get one, which, yeah, that's not great. And again, you could say that's the council being inept and not caring, but I think it's just because they don't have the money. I don't think they have the money. So then it's like and the other side of it as well is the fact that there are winters. Like I think last year we didn't get much snow. I think we've already had more snow this winter, and it's November, than what we did in the entire of last winter. So it's unreliable. Like countries like Canada, places in the US where it snows a lot as well, the Nordic countries, you can bet your house on the fact that it will be very cold, very wintry, and lots of snow. So therefore it makes sense that you invest in things like gritters and things that will actually keep the place going. However, in the UK, it's not impossible for us to have barely any snow throughout an entire winter. It does happen sometimes. And that is going to become more and more prevalent as the planet gets warmer. Because I'm sorry, guys, believe it or not, I believe in global warming. I think it's a thing. You might say it's maybe slightly exaggerated, but just going off of my lifetime, going off the data, it's irrefutable that the planet is getting warmer. But that's all the reasons behind it in the UK. People do take the mick out of us and say, oh, we can't drive in the winter, but it's just our roads and stuff are a nightmare in the winter because they are not looked after. And then on top of that, the fact that the road network in the UK is in such a state of disrepair to start with, that when you get things like icy conditions, it just gets even worse. Again, done some videos on that. But that's my kind of thoughts on it, guys. A bit of a longer one there, but I like having my little rants about the UK and its road network, and in this case some of the drivers as well. But yeah, let us know your thoughts about winter weather driving in the UK. Are you confident with it? Do you feel comfortable with it? Is it a case that the councils aren't putting enough gritters out there, that the roads are in such a bad state? I want to hear your thoughts at the end of the day on this one, guys. I want to hear your opinions. So Bugatti are no strangers to breaking records, particularly when it comes to the land speed records for certain type of vehicles. Remember the Bugatti Veyron back in the day, guys? I'm pretty sure that was the first ever production car to achieve a speed of over 250 miles an hour, which for you in Europe and most of the rest of the world, that is somewhere around the 400km/h range. But they've broken another one recently there. Bugatti W16 Mistral set the new top speed record for an open top car, i.e. a convertible. I dread to think how fast this thing was going, because anybody who's ridden the convertible, yeah, it's cool, don't get me wrong, especially on a hot day, you know, nice, but it definitely sends your hair going all places. I mean, it's not the most glamorous thing, although I'm sure you'll feel very cool doing it. Well, let's have a look at how fast this bad boy has managed to get here. We've got a full gallery as well. I think I might well put a lot of these images on the screen for you guys too. So, in a growing legend punctuated by iconic moments, Bugatti has engraved its name into the annals of automotive history. In its pursuit of innovation and top performance, 3 icons of the Bugatti legend have broken world top speed records. The Veyron 16.4 Super Sport World Record Edition, the Veyron 16.4 Grand Sport Vitesse World Record Edition, and the Chiron Super Supersport 300 Plus. They just sound fast, don't they? Just by the name of them. Now another incomparable feat of engineering and driving skill has been accomplished, with the W16 Mistral world record car setting a new top speed record for an open-top car at 453.91 kilometers an hour. How many miles per hour is that? Let's ask the internet. That is a mind-boggling 281 miles per hour. My goodness me, that is way faster than I thought a convertible could ever go. And I'll explain why in a bit, but I'm not sure this article also goes into it, but I'll explain why that's a ridiculous feat of engineering. Realised at the world-class track facilities of ATP Automotive Testing, Papenburg GmbH, Germany, this record-breaking occasion followed in the footsteps of world record runs that have been immortalised in automotive legend. In a story that began more than 14 years ago, in June 2010, with a Veyron 16.4 Supersport reaching a world record of 431.07 kilometers an hour, the Bugatti has charted a historic course in the pursuit of unparalleled speed. With the closed cockpit world record broken once more in 2019 with the mesmerizing Chiron Supersport 300 Plus achieving 490.48 kilometers an hour. I'm guessing that 300 plus refers to 300 plus miles an hour, because that's touching that at that point. In search of ever more challenging innovation, Bugatti's masterful historic making engineering also extended to open-top vehicles. 3 years after the momentous achievement of the Veyron 16.4 Supersport, this chapter in the automotive industry history books opened with Veyron 16.4 Grand Sport Vitesse achieving 408.4 kilometers an hour with the roof down, open to the elemental force of air. And that's the key thing. I'll just go over this now. That's the key thing. Let me just go up and show you. So obviously this is the car here. Now, anybody that has traveled on the motorway, which I'm guessing is most of you guys, have you ever tried rolling the window down on the motorway when you're going full speed? It's not a good idea. The air rushing through is incredible. Now, imagine you times that by what? You times that by nearly 6 times. Not 6 times, about 5 times or so as fast, which is, yeah, pretty quick. Pretty quick. The amount of air rushing through that car is incredible, and the forces on the back of the car on the seat there would be something else. The driver's going to be protected from it. He's got his own racing suit and everything on, with a helmet and stuff like that, so he's not really going to feel it at that point. But the forces exerted on the car, the amount of resistance that car is going to be having to the air is going to really, really slow it down. And that's why a convertible speed record like this is so impressive. The engineering involved to make that car stable at that speed is nothing short of fantastic. It really is. But they've managed to do it. As the pages of Bugatti's legend turn to the present day, so the storied marquee sought to extend that endeavour once more of an open-top vehicle. Building on the foundations of the incredible accomplishment already immortalised, the pursuit of another landmark moment in Bugatti's rich history reached the crescendo in the wake of the months of intricate preparation and meticulously planned testing to explore the car's immense capabilities. And so that journey led to the Project Zenith in Papenburg on November 9th. From the esteemed guest in attendance to CEO of Bugatti Mate Rimich, the senior management team, the project crew, and the intensely focused vehicle technicians all immersed in overwhelming emotions as the briefing concluded and the historic moment arrived. Andy Wallace, the Bugatti Pilote Official, the official pilot, and winner of the Le Mans 24 Hours, assumed the controls of the one-off U16 Mistral record car, warming up the vehicle's bespoke high-performance tyres on an anticipatory lap. Ascending to a specified speed of 200 km an hour into the banking of the track, Andy increased the speed before unleashing the full power of the vehicle as the straight opened up, coming off the banking, taking it to new heights of record speed. Under the meticulous control of the STUV SAR GmbH, the achievement of a new world record top speed for an open-top car was officially confirmed at the end of the run, with Andy reaching an incredible 453.91 kilometers an hour. For the first time in Bugatti's history, the customer of the vehicle was in attendance to witness a record-breaking event for the ages. He was offered the opportunity to immerse themselves in an exclusive, exquisite experience throughout the weekend in honor of the momentous day, reinforcing the purely unique landmark of nature of the occasion. The customer was bestowed with the incredible opportunity to join Andy on another high-speed run in the wake of the world record, almost reaching the same speed and likely setting an unofficial record for the fastest ever passenger ride. So there we go, guys. Like I said, I'll put some of these are absolutely beautiful. I'm just scrolling through them now. I won't show the article, but there is a full article on the motoringchronicle.com. I will put the images on screen as well while I'm talking about this. You know, absolutely incredible. Bugatti hitting it out of the park again. Absolutely incredible by them. But yeah, so for much more motoring news, incredible feats of speed and engineering like this, I mean, guys, again, you know, the incredible, fantastical thing they've done here to actually, you know, get this car to go that fast. I mean, and props to the driver as well. Serious cojones doing that, absolutely. So yeah, you won't catch me going that quick in one of them things, or anything for that matter. But yeah, unless it's an airplane. Airplanes go pretty quick too, but that's a bit different. But yeah, for much more content on the world of motoring, do keep it tuned here to the motoringchronicle.com. Alright guys, we got to talk about Jaguar. We have to talk about Jaguar and their absolutely disastrous ad campaign. They've gone through some sort of rebrand ahead of a big reveal of a new car that's coming out. I think they're going to reveal it at some sort of Miami Auto Show sometime next year. And for some reason, the people behind the marketing of Jaguar have decided that they want to go for a completely different target market. Their traditional kind of buyers of over the years have not, you know, been the ones they want to target. You know, they want to go for some different people. They want to go for people that break the mold, people that don't buy Jaguars really, which in a sense I kind of understand, because it's like you want to appeal to different markets. I get that. You want to expand your customer base. That in itself is not a bad thing as a business, but you have to be careful that you don't alienate the people who actually buy your cars, because then you're going to be screwed. You're not going to get the revenue that you normally would. And I'll be honest, most people who buy Jaguars would probably see this advert and throw up in their mouths. It is absolutely out there completely. And again, I'm not criticizing them in the sense that this is something that you can't do. You can't do an advert like this. You can if you want to. Again, it's got to make sense with your brand. It's got to make sense with your target market. That's the basics of business marketing really, and this just doesn't. It's basically, for those who haven't seen, I would show it, but I can't show it because copyright. But for those who haven't seen, it's basically a bunch of people wearing some absolutely ridiculous clothes, going around looking all model-like. It's like the weirdest perfume advert you've ever seen. Even weirder, just dialed up to not 11, but 12. You know, it's completely out there, and it has nothing to do with the cars. I don't think they even show a car in it, do they? I don't think they even show a single car in the advert. Or if they do it, it's just, that is not what you leave the advert thinking about. Adverts for cars, right? They do generally follow the same kind of formula. It's people driving around in a really pretty part of the world, lots of really stylistic shots of the car, like pulling into a driveway. If it's an SUV, it's got a really nice family looking happy, lots of in-car entertainment in there. If it's a sports car, it's got some dude driving around there and some really nice scenery. You know, just the things like that, right? They do kind of fall into the same kind of thing because it works. When you see the advert, you think of that car, and when you leave the advert, when the advert's over, you still think of that car driving around in those really beautiful vistas at the end of the day, like Scottish Highlands or whatever, you know. So this just completely misses the point. It's just going to alienate a lot of Jaguar customers, I think, if they see that. I mean, if the car's good, the car's good, but going off of that is not what you need to be seeing. And the worst thing for me, the worst thing about all this, the biggest crime, right, is the fact that they've gotten rid of the Jaguar. The Jaguar logo has changed now just to the text with Jaguar on it, and there's no Jaguar in sight. That is the biggest sin. And if they get rid of that hood ornament, if they get rid of the symbol of the Jaguar on the car, if it's just the letters Jaguar rather than an actual like Jaguar's head roaring, again, it's just not cool. You don't do it. You don't mess with what works. You would never ever see Rolls-Royce or Bentley or any Aston Martin, you know, that Jaguar's competition. You would never see them doing these kind of adverts. And there's a reason for that, because they know they'd never get away with it. Jaguar aren't going to get away with this, I don't think. Everybody's freaking out online about it. Just one last thing to mention as well. I will shout out someone on Twitter who put a really good tweet, actually, that did kind of sum it up. Because Porsche on the same day did a advert for a new version of their 993 Turbo. And the advert's perfect. The advert's absolutely perfect. It shows a guy driving up to a shepherd with a flock of sheep, and it's one of them tight country lanes, and the car just has to kind of slowly go through it. And because it's that serene, you know, the sheep don't mind. The sheep get out of the way, you know. So that's an appropriate advert, and you leave that advert thinking, oh, that's a really cool car. I think I could drive that. Don't think I could afford it, but I think I could drive it. But yeah, I mean, that's just the comparison, really. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that to you guys because we have to talk about Jaguar and what they are doing. So yeah, we'll see you soon for some more news on the weird and wacky world of motoring and motorsport, guys, here on the motoringchronicle.com. Like, share, comment, subscribe, ring the bell as well, and we'll see you very soon, guys. Have a good one.